Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mile High Living. I'm Gina Bellich. Over 10 years ago, the first family-owned and operated American Vein and Vascular Clinic opened in Pueblo, Colorado. And since then, they have opened 7 additional facilities in our state. They are a world-class network of vein and arterial diagnosis and treatment centers, helping those in need. Founder Dr. Gordon Gibbs joins me now, and I almost tripped up when I saw 7. I had to make sure that's a lot going on throughout our state. Congratulations on that. Let's talk about really why our viewers at home and your patients should choose American Vein.
Sure. So as you mentioned, we're the largest network of vein and vascular centers in Colorado, and this is what we do every day. We treat people with vein problems, which is mostly people with leg pain, discomfort, heaviness in their legs. And it's what we do every day, so I feel like we're getting pretty good at it.
I would think so, absolutely. Can you explain a little bit, really, how you got started in the industry?
Sure. So we started basically as a result of there being a tremendous need for it. So venous disease in particular is something that historically was treated with surgical procedures in the hospital under general anesthesia. Kind of a big deal. A lot of times it didn't have that great of a reputation because people often didn't have that great of an outcome. In the last 10 or 20 years or so, there's been a lot of development of new technology, new techniques that are much less invasive, that are much less uncomfortable, and really people get a much better outcome with it. So it being a very common problem, we now have better treatments for it, so there was just a tremendous need for it.
Can you explain a little bit, because I apologize, I'm not very schooled in this, what exactly is venous disease?
Yeah, so venous disease really comes in multiple different forms. One of the more common things that we see in our clinic is something called superficial venous reflux. And basically, so the veins are meant to deliver blood from your feet back to your heart in one direction. And there are small valves inside the veins that open and close and allow that blood to flow in one direction. When those valves become leaky, then blood can go in the wrong direction. Basically, gravity pulls it down towards the floor and it pools in your lower part of your legs. And that hurts. It's uncomfortable. The veins are under pressure. Sometimes they get larger, which causes varicose veins. Sometimes it causes swelling. And in really severe situations, it can cause skin discoloration and skin breakdown and whatnot. So we do see people with spider veins, but we also see people with much more significant problems than that.
Well, that's what you mentioned this briefly, but I'd like to know a little bit more about some of the specific symptoms, basically, that people might have if they are worried they might have it.
Yeah, so probably 30% of the American population of adults have vein problem to some degree, and so what we typically will see is people with discomfort in their legs. They're achy, they're just uncomfortable, more so towards the end of the day. A lot of times people have cramps and restlessness at night, which are very common and very specifically associated with vein problems. And so when we treat people's venous disease, a lot of their leg discomfort gets better, their legs just feel lighter, they're more comfortable, they just feel healthier, they have a bit more spring in their step, and importantly, they can sleep better at night because their cramps and restlessness have gone away.
So how common is this? Obviously, you've got 7 different locations.
Yeah,
and
millions of Americans.
Really?
Yeah.
That many, huh?
Yeah.
So 30%, you said?
Yeah, probably 30% of adults have vein problems to some degree. And it doesn't mean 30% have varicose veins, because that's just one manifestation, but 30% of people have heaviness, they have discomfort, they have achiness in their legs. When they kick their feet up at the end of the day, their legs feel better. That's your veins that are doing that.
Oh, interesting. All right, let's talk about the procedure itself and how you can help people. How long does a typical procedure take?
Yeah, so typically when people first come into the office, we spend a lot of time with a very detailed ultrasound, because really what we're trying to define is what exactly does that roadmap look like in their legs? What do their veins look like on the inside? Because that really tells the whole story. And then we basically go and we purposefully try to seal closed some of the abnormal veins and divert that flow of blood into the other veins which are healthy and normal. So by eliminating the abnormal veins and maximizing the flow through normal ones, people's legs feel better. So we can do that with a number of different procedures, all of which are minimally invasive. At most, we make a little nick in the skin, maybe 1 millimeter or 2 in size, so nothing like the historical norm of vein stripping.
So when you talk about doing this, a lot of people must come to you in discomfort or in pain. So then is the procedure itself painful?
It can be. It's a little bit like getting your teeth cleaned, I would say. It's maybe, in terms of a pain scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 2 or a 3. There's some parts of it that are no big deal. Of course, some people have a little bit more discomfort than others, but generally it's the kind of thing where you walk in, you have something done, and then you walk right out.
So let's talk insurance. Is this something insurance usually accepts?
Absolutely. Yeah, so anytime you fall into a category of something that's bothering your legs, if your legs hurt, if they're uncomfortable, generally insurance will cover that. Including Medicare, including Medicaid, almost all commercial insurances will cover it as well. If it's simply a cosmetic problem and all that bothers you is the way they look, then it's a little bit of a different story. But surprisingly, most of the time when people have a cosmetic concern, there also is some underlying medical issues.
Okay, quickly before we go, you mentioned vein stripping. That sounds extremely painful. That's what used to be done. Now you don't have to do that, right?
Yeah, no, we don't offer vein stripping at all. And there are technologies that are much, much better than they used to be and really much better tolerated. And so I would say not only are the procedures easier and more comfortable for people, but the outcomes are just far better than they used to be.
I love it.
The diagnosis is just much more precise, and we expect people to get a great outcome. We don't just hope that they do.
Dr. Gibbs, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's remind everyone, love your legs again. American Vein and Vascular Institute offers minimally invasive in-office treatment options for venous disease. Call their number today at 844-5MY-LEGS or visit their website at AmericanVein.com. For more information, they paid for today's segment, and we'll be right back.